What's going on, everyone? My name is Eric Piccione. I made the channel to document my life through the ups and downs. Initially, the goal was to do it for specifically financial freedom, but I think looking ahead, it's just a much wider lens than just money. So I try to make these videos every single month to recap what happened during the month, what we learned, what we didn't, or what we learned, what we came across, future plans, everything in between. So yeah, this month, not a really, you know, mind blowing month. Nothing extreme happened. Like we didn't win the lottery or anything, but big update though. We did end up booking our flight to Russia. This is for the month of February right now. So we booked our ticket late February for later on in March. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. We booked a one-way ticket. So I, if you don't know, or if you're watching this way down the line, we made the decision to move to Russia. Is it permanent? As of right now, not entirely sure. I would like to think that it is. We are going to go for more of a test run to see the Russian lifestyle, and I'll cover this in more detail in a little bit throughout this video. But other big things, got our tax refund back, which was really surprising because my income is was a lot higher last year than it was in previous years. But what I did learn is having a good CPA really helps, but also just the benefits of tax or real estate has a ton of tax benefits. I think that the interesting thing that comes with doing or getting involved in real estate is there's a lot of tax credits that come your way, or tax benefits rather. I'm not a CPA, so I don't want to go beyond my knowledge base, but I know that by investing in real estate, you have a lot of benefits that come with it, like depreciation, just the actual cash flow itself, so you can actually live off of that, and the appreciation as well on the other side of it. So the value of the house goes up. You're paying down the property, but also you're able to use 27 and a half years of depreciation through things like the roof, the HVAC, things that are normal and necessary to keep the business or the house standing, which is a business. You can use that as a reduction in your taxes. So if you have a couple properties, even if you make, high five figures, like 80, 90, 100, 150K in some cases, you can use that to offset your taxes entirely. That's what Donald Trump does. It's what a lot of people that are really wealthy do. And I would like to be in those ranks as well. So we did pretty well. So happy about that. Not a huge income month. I didn't, crush it in sales like I had months prior. But the nice thing is we're still making our money from Airbnb, House Hack, the basement below us, and the long-term rental out in Texas. We finally had our renters pay the full amount, and we actually got the full amount versus paying our property management company a percentage of the first month's rent to help them market the property. We had a vacancy for 3 to 4 months, and that was a little upsetting. We have a good property in a good part of town, and we got it at an awesome interest rate. We refinanced when the time was right, and we're in it really well. So for the foreseeable future, unless something like extremely obvious comes around the corner, we're going to hold this property for, really the life of the loan and for the next 20, 30 years, honestly. So that was cool. That's definitely going to be our primary focus going forward. If we can find a good deal, would be real estate. But honestly, it's very expensive right now, so it's hard to find a deal. So if we don't find anything anytime soon, no biggie. We're not going to be upset about that. I'm also reading a book called Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. Really good book. If you've read it, let me know. I've just started it recently. It's really just about the history of humankind and just where we came from to where we're at today and what makes us the way we are. So I thought it's a really interesting book. I'm kind of past the whole personal development book investing finance book. I mean, there every now and then if something piques my interest, I'll read it. But I can't say I'll learn anything, magnificent anymore. I'm very kind of set in my ways. I mean, I definitely want to learn new things and challenge myself. I'm always up for a challenge. But, I read the first 20 pages of a book now and it's like, okay, I've read some version of this before. I'm not really going to learn anything super. I used to read for gold nuggets and then I just started like living life. And I feel like life gives you better lessons than the book will. Now, if it's a classic, I'd rather just reread certain books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Atomic Habits. I think Atomic Habits should become a Bible. Honestly, it's an awesome book. Outside of that, I mean, it was just trying to figure out how to. Well, I guess going back to the topic of Russia, this is a big one for this month, and one that I'll honestly continue talking about. I would say it's a passion of mine, or just one that's like I will die on this hill because I just don't think people get it or it's clicking. They're also fed Western media stuff, which I understand. I'm American and I'm very grateful for this country, but a lot of issues. So for us, trying to figure out how we're going to really get the financial aspects of Russia taken care of will be a challenge for us. I'm honestly not even sure what the easiest or most practical way to do it. On one hand, it's like, should we just carry cash with us every single time we fly in and out? And, we could. I just don't like the thought of carrying, call it 10 or 20 grand with us. That's not very fun. I would rather just, do a crypto transfer is something that I'm reading up on a lot. I have a decent amount of experience working with crypto, so I don't really mind that. However, at the same time, I do need to leave Russia every 6 months based on my visa, and I have a multiple entry private visa, so I can leave. I have to leave every 6 months, so right around like the fifth month or 5.5 months, I'll just go to back to America, or I'll go to Turkey or a nearby country and come back the same day or the next day. I don't see that being an issue. I've thought about going to like a nice resort in Turkey, which, I've never been outside of the airport in Turkey or Istanbul, but I would be very curious to see how that goes. Seems very beautiful. Every time I've been, I mean, the airport's magnificent, so I would love to see what the actual country looks like. But yeah, that's something that I've been thinking of is, there's no sanctions there, so I can actually use my credit card, which would be helpful. But yeah, just getting into Turkey and going on a trip from time to time would be really nice. Every 6 months or so, just take the family or whoever wants to go. We all, maybe do a trip, and it's pretty cost effective. I think hotels, like really, really nice hotels are less than $200 for like a 5 star, 3 to 5 star hotel. That's pretty wild. I mean, New York, I went on a trip there once. It was like $300 for a night. And I think we looked for everything for that we would need in Turkey. I think it was around $800 for 4 days, 4 nights, or however you want to call it. Thought that was really nice. So that was like a resort, like an all-inclusive resort for less than $1,000 for 4 days is pretty sweet. And yeah, so curious on how that'll play out in terms of like the banking situation. I mean, I'm leaning more towards crypto because I can do a transfer and have all the cash once it settles, at least once you buy it, buy Bitcoin or USDC or some kind of US coin. Once it settles from your bank account, you can send it directly, and usually within, call it an hour, all in, you've got your money in your account. So that's something that I'm still kind of iffy about, like what the easiest way to do it all would be. But I've talked to a couple people that have done $30,000 transfers, and they've gotten their money no problem. I wouldn't foresee this being a big deal because it's something that's going to take. We're going to be doing. We're not going to do a ton of transfers. We're going to do a transfer every couple months, and when we do it, it'll likely be a decent one because it's living expenses and everything all in. We're also looking at buying a house or buying an apartment rather in Russia. And that'll be nice because they will be built really well, be right next to hopefully my wife's family, and it'll be in a good spot. Not really sure how that'll play out in the future, when we'll save up for it, but we're chipping away. So who knows? Hopefully by the end of this year we'll have enough, but we'll see. God willing, that'll be realistic this year. That would be awesome. But yeah, just game plan for future. Just wrapping it all up. The plan for us is to move to Russia and to start really living a just different life. And it's something that I've talked about a couple times. I think the trajectory of America, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, is not looking very promising. And I've got a family. My role as the father and husband of this family is to protect them and make sure that everyone is doing okay and we're putting them in a position to succeed long term. I've read through hundreds of comments on a recent video I posted calling me a lunatic for bringing my family to Russia. I think if you stepped into our shoes for a moment, you would understand. Of course, there's hundreds of countries all over the world, and if I could pick, I would choose like Switzerland or like Germany or something where education and just the quality of life is exponentially is at the peak. It's just the cost of living is equally pretty high there. I wouldn't really plan on getting a job in that country. I do work remotely, so I'm very fortunate to be able to work really anywhere that I have an internet connection. So that's amazing. But the one of the biggest core reasons that we're going is because my wife's family lives there. There's also a really solid education system still in Russia. I think the ability for our daughter to grow up around family and being able to be raised in a loving environment is really nice, because we're out in Ohio right now. It's we chose this city because we had everything that we need. We have a nice environment for my daughter, and we love her, and we love the ability for her to like go to a ton of parks. But I don't think that we should be sticking around into one city or state because of the parks or because of one set school. I think it's interesting because I'm looking at everything that we spend our money on in America, and I mean, just to live what I would consider comfortably, we've got to earn at least $4,000, if not $5,000. Like comfortably for us, it's beyond $5,000. And that's daycare, that's mortgage, that's everything that we've put aside. We're also putting away a decent amount for just like trips and just life, right? Because I think for me, quality of life is going outside the country or just going outside the borders every now and then, outside of the state, and just living a little, and right now it's like we are grinding so hard. Thank God I have my job, because if I had other jobs in the past, I would not have the same flexibility financially to do this. Like we would get paid, pay our bills, and that would be it. There wouldn't be any extra to work with. So while we have this advantage financially, and while we have family in a country that what I would consider is very loving, very supportive. I've been to Russia 4 times now. I've understood the culture, and I understand the mindset behind the people there, and I enjoy it. I enjoy being a part of a close-knit family, and one that supports you, as if you're one of their own. And I think that's really appreciated. I love my family. I love my American family, but we're all spread out throughout the country. That's fine. Everyone has their lives, but if you have the opportunity to go to a city or anywhere where there's dozens of people that can help you raise your family, and give you a little bit of a breather versus it just being you and your wife, where you guys basically have to work consistently to just keep the wheels turning, I think a lot of people would take that up and would take that offer, especially if you have kids. I think it's nice to just, you know, for the weekend, pass your daughter over to their grandparents while you go out on the, you go out for the night, or, whatever. Like if we want to go on a weekend trip somewhere, we can. And I think that's nice. It's needed as parents to just like get a little breather. And, not to mention like the cost for us is a little bit more feasible, because if my wife wants to work, she can, but it's not a need, and that's something that we don't have the luxury of right now. Like everything is so much more expensive in the States, and there's arguments everywhere. Oh, it's more expensive, but you also get paid more. Or in other countries, it's like, oh, it's more affordable, but they don't get paid as much. But you got to remember, the government is actually helping a lot of these people that don't live in these like extremely wealthy countries. A lot of people don't realize that Russia has pretty generous benefits. Like paternity and maternity leave is minimum like 6-7 months. Some cases you can go years with government care. Your pensions are I mean, they're not like abundant, but you have your basic needs covered. A lot of people have housing whenever they need housing. I mean, a lot of people have, some kind of assistance. Most countries have housing assistance, which is understandable. I'm not saying it's like Russia or die. I'm just saying it's nice because comparatively to the US, at least, we don't have a lot of these luxuries. And not to mention, whenever you have your first kid in Russia, you get at least a $10,000 deposit, or maybe five. It's you get financial support, and then your second kid is 6 or 7,000. Don't quote me on this. I don't know the exact statistic, but I know you do get financial aid just for having your kid, and that's something that is very new to us, and that's something that we're very appreciative. So why wouldn't you want to take that up, especially if you're literally able to get this assistance by just going to a place where you have more support, and for us, the fact that we wouldn't need to be busting our ass every single day for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years to just like get by. I think anyone in their right mind would take that opportunity. And thinking to it too, expense wise, with our rental in Texas and the one that we're living in right now, like I'm filming this video from, by us moving abroad and listing this on Airbnb, assuming our projections are right, we'll actually be able to retire early if we want to. Financially, the rental income from both of these would be able to sustain our lifestyle if we wanted to, all in, assuming, well, even right now, if we moved and the Airbnb starts doing well, if we wanted to, we could already be retired, and that's pretty wild. Like financially, for 2 rental properties to be able to cover all of your basic needs, and your daughter's in a good daycare. The daycare is free, by the way. Education is free, by the way. I think it's an interesting opportunity, and we're young. We want to adventure a little bit, but it's nice because I think while the Russian culture, they work hard. They work 6 days a week. I just don't think the mentality is the same as it is in America, where you go to America to create businesses and like, flourish in your income. I think for Russia, at least the way I see it is, you don't have this as high of a level of stress. There is plenty of stress in Russia and most countries, but the way I see it is it's not as much of a grind mentality because there's more focus on the family. So it's a little bit of a different dynamic. There's stress everywhere in the world, but I think the way that will be supported, it'll just be completely different. There won't be nearly as much financial pressure because there's a lot more support from the government in Russia, and that'll be the pausing point here. So if you want me to expand on anything or give it a little bit more clarity, I'm happy to. Leave a like, comment, hit some buttons, really helps me out. Sorry. Go ahead and share with someone if you think that they might find value in this, or if you want to chat more, would love to. But that's all I've got. God bless and stay tuned.